Well, it seems like Kel-Tec is moving from Florida to, I believe, Montana. So does that mean they're stepping up their game?
We are the superiorly armed beings.
Hey everybody, Yankee here. I've never made a secret of how I feel about Kel-Tec as a brand. I think that they are the worst semi-major brand of guns ever made. They're garbage. They're crap. Wouldn't own one for anything. And I stand by that. I've always said they don't have a break-in period. They just break, period. Because they are a subpar piece of junk gun. Now, they used to be really cheap, so it was less offensive that they were so bad. Because, they would just replace it every time it broke. They could do that 3 or 4 times. They'd still make a profit on how cheaply made they were. But they knew most people who bought Kel-Tecs would never shoot them anyway, so they'd never recognize the fact that the guns disassemble on their own, self-disassemble after you first use them, or maybe 3 or 4 times after you use them if you're lucky. So they knew most people who buy our cheap guns aren't going to shoot them because gun people don't buy these cheap, crappy guns. And the few that do will just keep replacing it until they get sick of it and sell it off. And they know they'll still make a profit. That was their whole plan. And they've stuck to that. They make crap. Now the prices are going up. They're getting more expensive. So it's even worse now than it ever was before because you're still getting the same crap, in my opinion. And when I say this, a lot of people always come back at me, but Kel-Tec makes some of the most innovative designs. Well, that's true and not true. Because yes, they do come up with some pretty cool designs. Now, innovative? Not really. They steal most of their technology from other sources. Most everything they ever do already existed. They just put it together in different combinations, different shapes, etc. And people go, ooh, look how cool that is. And it would be cool if they didn't then turn those designs over to a production line that I can only assume is composed of a bunch of half-retarded monkeys with hammers. So at the end of the line every day, all you end up with is a bunch of smashed bananas covered in monkey feces. But that's what they do. And it doesn't help that it seems like the only tools they give those monkeys are hammers, an assortment of screws, some cheap plastic and metal, and a hot glue gun. So they really don't have much chance of making anything good at the end of the day anyway, even if they weren't half-retarded chimpanzees. So Kel-Tec is just awful. Now, people always tell me, but this new design, that's really, they're stepping up their game. Oh, they're stepping up their game with this one. No, they all end up garbage. Even the ones I've really wanted, like that 5.7 gun they did, I go, and the pieces are just so cheap and nasty. There's glue seeping out of places where plastic comes together. They're just junk. But now people are coming to me saying, it looks like Kel-Tec is stepping up their game because they're moving out of Florida and they're going to, I believe it's Montana, and they're going to have a bigger facility. They're going to be putting more money into it and all this other stuff, and they're really going to start producing good guns. And I wish that was true, and I hope it's true. I keep my fingers crossed because there's a lot of the guns that they designed that I would love to see made well. Usually you have to wait till someone else like Ruger remakes their designs and makes them decent. But I would love to see Kel-Tec start making decent guns. Unfortunately, if they did, I'm sure they would drastically increase the prices. But people are saying they're moving from Florida to Montana. A lot of people are saying that's because they're going to step up their game. Some people are just saying they were moving from a less conservative state to a more conservative state. I don't think Florida is much less conservative than Montana. It's just that it's more expensive in Florida. The reason they're moving to Montana is to make more profit off their shitty guns. If I had to bet on it, that's what I'm going to say they're doing. Because it's expensive to be in Florida. It's expensive to work in Florida. Manpower is more expensive. Property is more expensive. Facilities are more expensive to maintain. Everything is more expensive in Florida, mainly because people actually want to live in Florida. It's cheaper in Montana because no one wants to live there. People seem to not understand that when they go like, well, this state right here has houses for like $80,000. Well, yeah, that's because you can't get anybody to move there. You can get places real cheap in Detroit, too. But people are saying, they're moving there because they're upping their game. I don't see it. I don't see Kel-Tec putting any effort into making better products because this is what they set out to do from the beginning. I actually spoke to one of the people that was heavily involved in Kel-Tec when it first started, and he said that was their game plan. Make them cool, make them cheap, make them easy to replace, and keep in mind most people will never shoot them more than once or twice before they put them in a drawer, so you'll never even have to repair the vast majority of them. That was their game plan from the beginning, and they've stuck to that. They still design cool guns, usually pilfered from other designs, and then, like I said, they produce a bunch of crap. And that's all they have done, and I don't think they're going to change that. And I don't think just because they're moving to a place where it's cheaper to produce the guns that they're going to suddenly start putting more effort into them. I think they're just going to say, look, we've increased our profits. We've got a cheaper workforce now. Even if we transported the people who live in Florida and work for us to Montana, you think they're not going to lower their salary? Corporations are doing that all the time now. They're moving like, we moved to Texas, so we're cutting a third off your salary because the cost of living here is so much cheaper. That's happening all the time now. So you think they're not moving there just to save money? That's what they're doing. They're trying to increase their profits. They're already making big profits off of crap. So they're moving somewhere else that they can just make bigger profits off of crap. I don't see Kel-Tec changing their game plan. So all these people that are like, oh, this is just a sign that they're upping their game. It isn't a sign they're upping their game. It's a sign that maybe a lot of people have caught on to the fact that their products are crap, so they're moving someplace cheaper to produce it so they can keep making a product that is crap, but still very profitable. So that's what I see mostly happening here. And like I said, I would love to be wrong. I don't make videos like this saying, I want to be right and I hope they fail. I would love to see Kel-Tec start making good guns, because there's several of their guns, if they up their quality, I'd be buying them tomorrow. Well, if I had any money, I'd buy them tomorrow, but they'd be on my list of things to buy. There's several models from Kel-Tec I would like to have if they were produced in a manner where they were actually of halfway decent quality. But as of right now, that's not the case. Kel-Tec is still garbage. It's always been garbage. If you ask me, it'll always be garbage. But like I said, I'd love to be proven wrong.